Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. My friends, welcome to another Streets of New Capenna spoiler video. This one featuring what has to be the craziest card in the entire set, and that would be Evolving Door. 1 green and 2 get you an artifact with a wild ability. For 1 generic mana, you tap it, sacrifice a creature, you then count the colors of the sacrificed creature, then search your library for a creature card that's exactly that many colors plus 1, exile that card, then shuffle. You may cast the exiled card, activate only as a sorcery. Now that paragraph is a great example of a pretty complicated magic card, but also that complexity is what creates such an interesting card because you don't normally see abilities of this nature that specifically care about creatures' colors in this way, right? It is a very odd card. If you're not quite understanding how the card works, put quite simply, imagine you have a mono green creature in play. You pay 1 mana, you sacrifice that mono green creature to the Evolving Door. The game then basically looks at it and goes, okay, we have a green creature being sacrificed, that's 1 color. You now add 1 to that number, now you have 2 colors. You search through your deck for any creature card that is exactly 2 different colors. So it doesn't even have to be green like the creature you originally sacrificed. So you've got a lot of versatility. Normally when we see sacrifice effects like this, they're going to be keyed into either something like mana cost or the power or toughness of the creature involved, right? It's going to scale with one of those, as opposed to this scenario where you can actually sacrifice a tiny little creature and go and get a massively expensive creature from your deck, right? You could sacrifice a creature that costs 1 mana and is 1 color and go and get a creature that costs 10 or more that was 2 different colors, but it has to specifically be 2 colors. And you move up the chain like that. So say, for example, you cast the creature that you just searched out, right? Now that's a 2 different color creature. If you were to sacrifice that to the Evolving Door, you're going to add 1 again. This time when you look through your deck, you're looking for any creature that is specifically 3 different colors. So this is a fun way to chain up to a 5-color creature if you want to, on top of just having the versatility of gathering up a number of different options. Honestly, this is a very powerful effect, and there's a reason that Wizards has gone ahead and color-coded this artifact so that you can't just shove it into any deck, because this is quite potent. So the flavor of this card is a lot of fun as well, right? It plays on the idea of a revolving door, but obviously this is an evolving door instead. Magic has a number of different door concepts. Some of them will transport you away from this reality and bring you back. Some of them will emphasize your destiny and give you power. And this one will literally cause an evolution based on the flavor text: in with the old, out with the new. So in the door goes the old creature you no longer want, and out the door walks your new shiny creature that you do want. That is some fun flavor, and to me, I can't see a crazier card showing up in the set. Right now we have other cards to talk about. Let's move on to the next card. We have Graveyard Shift. 1 black and 4 for a sorcery that says this spell is flash as long as there are 5 or more mana values among cards in your graveyard. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's a pretty straightforward black reanimation spell. It does cost 5 mana, which is up there, but at the same time, being able to use it at instant speed is pretty sweet, right? You do have to have 5 different casting costs in your graveyard, so that can be a little bit annoying, but overall, that seems like a nice little side effect on your standard issue reanimation. And Graveyard Shift obviously has that fun connotation. The flavor text says, "Up and at 'em, buddy. We've got more work to do." And the artwork just looks like this swirling mist of fire and smoke, and honestly, when I look at it, I think more of like a creature destruction spell more than a creature reanimation spell. But hey, what are you gonna do? Let's move on to another rare. Now, this one wasn't spoiled in English, but it's interesting enough. Normally, I wait to talk about them until they're showing up in English, but this is really different. So I wanted to talk about this one right away. This is Errant Street Artist, okay? And this is 1 blue mana for a 0/3 Flash Defender Haste with the ability pay 1 blue and 1, tap, copy target spell you control that wasn't cast. You may choose new targets for the copy. So this feels like something that's going to be crazily abused with like old school powerhouse cards overall, right? The fact that you can use it right away when it comes into play, the fact that it has the flash tacked onto it as well, and the fact that it literally wants to feed off of like free play spells says that this is going to be used in a very degenerate fashion. And take a look at the artwork too. This street artist is literally crafting another version of themselves through the street art. So there's some really cool flavor that goes along with this. There are a number of interesting cards in today's spoilers. We've got Mage's Attendant, which is 1 white and 2 for a 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, it creates a 1/1 blue wizard creature token with 1 mana, sack this creature, counter target non-creature spell, unless its controller pays 1. Now, admittedly, I understand the idea behind this is supposed to be like, we've got the crime family, and this is the enforcer that protects the mage because the mage is more fragile and has skills that they need. So you've got like a beefier Leonin cat warrior defending them. But at the same time, with the fact that it's a rogue and the fact that it creates a blue wizard token, it really does feel like it ties into Dungeons and Dragons party mechanic quite nicely, right? So you've got that overlap as well. The artwork is pretty standard issue. I mean, you've got your cat rogue up in the forefront there with the blade resting on their shoulders. You've got a mage, I suppose, in the background there, just kind of being guarded. But it also looks like there's other people further in the background. So I'm not 100% sure exactly who's being guarded. Maybe this is supposed to be from the perspective of the mage looking at their attendant. I mean, the flavor text just says, crime sometimes makes unlikely allies into lifelong friends. So I guess it's just like, I've been protecting you long enough that we're buddies now, Tony. I guess that's the concept. I'm not 100% on that. Either way, let's move on to Cormella Glamour Thief. 1 red, 1 black, 1 blue, and 1 gets you a 2/4 Vampire Rogue Legendary with haste. 1 mana tap, add blue, black, and red to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast instants and or sorcery spells. When Cormella Glamour Thief dies, return up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, so she's a glamour thief. That is actually a really fun play on words, right? Because normally when you think about Magic the Gathering, you would think of a glamour thief in the terms of like glamour being actual magic, right? Like the fairies would show up and place a glamour upon you. But in this case, we're actually talking about somebody who is obsessed with stealing the glamorous. And you can see that shown in the artwork because she is sitting there almost lovingly caressing this giant alabaster sculpted head of Xander, the leader of the Maestros. And this feels like a great fit for the world of Capenna, considering you've got all these crime families having people who are obsessed with getting like high works of art and things like that. It makes sense, especially considering that Xander is like the head of the Maestros and they are the most glamorous crime family as well. So there's a bunch of flavor that way. Although admittedly, when I look at the abilities, I don't really understand where the thief aspect comes into it, right? You look at it and you go, okay, well, you tap for mana. Where's the thief aspect of that? Does she have stolen items that produce the mana? And also, the only time you get something is when her life ends. So that would make for a poor thief. And she only returns something from your graveyard, right? So when it comes to the overall flavor mechanically of illustrating that she's a thief, it really does ultimately fall flat for me. But I just love the flavor of it so much that I still really enjoy the card. The Glamour Thief concept is enough to carry it for me, even if overall the card doesn't hold up full on to scrutiny, right? Now, let's talk about a very interesting card in terms of treasure tokens, and that would be Professional Facebreaker. 1 red and 2 for a 2/3 Menace Human Warrior. Now, whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you create a treasure token. Now, that's not something that's new, right? We've seen there's tons of ways to get treasure tokens. But the next ability, sacrifice a treasure, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. honestly, this feels like a fantastic resource transfer device. And by that, I mean, I've played a bunch of games where I've had a number of treasure tokens sitting there just kind of staring at me going, okay, I've got 3 treasure tokens on the table. I've got 6 mana. Nothing I'm going to cast is going to cost 9 mana. These treasure tokens are essentially just dead permanents, right? But if you can just go ahead and start feeding them off to get cards off the top of your deck and playing them for more resources, then all of a sudden you're going to be running ahead. I mean, the body on the creature isn't the biggest. Admittedly, it's a 2/3 for 3. That doesn't feel great. But when you slap Menace on there, it means that she's going to get through more frequently, which means you're going to get those treasure tokens. And if you just look at the card all by itself, you can just kind of look at it like this. Every time I swing in with this, if it connects, I get the treasure token. I can sack that treasure token immediately to play the top card, or to exile the top card of my deck to be able to play it, right? So it's almost like additional card draw on top of a creature that has evasion. And it's kind of crazy to me that the state of standard is like so overpowered that I feel like this card may not even make a dent. This may be something that just shows up in people's side like pet treasure decks or whatever. Literally feeding you accelerated mana and accelerated card draw may not be enough for this card to actually make a dent in standard. And that is definitely a testament to the current level of Magic design with the whole fire concept, right? Not every card is going to shine, but I just feel like in terms of what red is looking for, red runs out of gas, right? And this is nothing but gas. It gives you more cards, and you can use other treasure tokens to pay for those cards if you need to. Like, there's not really a downside overall to this, except for the fact that you've just got that 2 power. I think that might be where this ultimately loses out. Now, the next card we're going to look at is incredible in terms of concept and artwork, and that is Cut Your Losses. 2 blue and 4 for a sorcery with Casualty 2. And Casualty 2 is that new ability that says, as you cast this spell, you may sacrifice a creature with power 2 or greater. When you do, copy the spell, and you may choose a new target for the copy. And it says, target player mills half their library, rounded down. Now, if you haven't been around for a long time, you may not realize that there was a blue card called Traumatize made back in the Odyssey days. That's only 1 mana less than this. And it just says target player mills half their library, right? So this is literally just sack a creature that has 2 power, and you get to either mill 2 people for half of their decks, or you get to take basically 75% of somebody's deck. It's like, okay, 50% of what you got is gone. Now 50% of that is also gone. That's amazing. I have sometimes played a 300 card green deck, right? And I've played against people who have mill decks. We'd be playing in the tournament and I would just chuckle because he picked his mill deck. I came in with my green tower. Neither of us knew what the other was playing. We sit down, he lays an island and sees my deck and goes, oh no. And like, he's trying to traumatize me and even hitting me with it. Like once, it's, my deck is still massive. Being able to chew through 75% of my deck with 1 card, that actually is an answer to massive oversized decks. This is the scariest mill I've ever seen. And on top of that, the artwork is incredible. I'm not 100% sure exactly what's going on here, but it literally looks like somebody is all jacked up on Halo and has cut like a skeleton in half. At first glance, I'm like, wait, is this a dude in the background who's cut a skeleton in half? But then you look at the crazy asymmetrical but symmetrical nature of it at the same time, where you have the Halo drink that's full in the upper right hand corner and it's still full down in the bottom left hand corner, but it's upside down here. And on one side the guy's hair is calm, on the other side it's this crazy wave like he's been electrified. There's just this insane energy through this. And I mean, Cut Your Losses has that sort of crime family feel, but I just absolutely adore the artwork on this so much. It's incredible. I'm not 100% what's going on, and that's just like somebody's mind is being shattered. I love it. All right, so that wraps up today's spoilers. If you want to see some more spoilers, playlist of spoilers on the screen. If you want to know the story of Capenna, I've got a 5-video series on my channel, Fantasy Geographic. That's also on the screen. Thanks for coming by, my friends. See you for the next video.